What's up, everybody? It's been a hot minute again. That's exactly what I said last time. And I think the video before that, I said I would be back on schedule, and here I am posting, I think 2 or 3 weeks after my last video. Whatever. We're getting some up there. Anyways, this one is gonna be a little bit different. I haven't done a chatty video in a while. And I don't know that I've really ever done a video kind of like this, but I'm excited. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that I have been doing some experimenting with my nutrition over the last like month and a half, almost 2 months now. I am, or have been, trying to eat gluten and dairy free. I went through 4 weeks of Elimination Diet. If you don't know what that is, we have a visitor. Hey, buddy. I was kind of just going through a period where probably a couple months, honestly, like I can't pinpoint exactly when it started. But I just went through a period where I was feeling really bloated, really, gassy, not super regular, extremely sluggish and fatigued, like falling asleep on the highway, driving from one job to the other in the afternoon kind of fatigue, like falling asleep places that I shouldn't be. And no matter how much sleep I got or how much I was regulating my schedule, still just like overly tired, really sluggish, mentally kind of foggy, crabby, just all around not great. And a lot of things that typically you would think are kind of hormonal, but I decided to try going gluten and dairy free. And the reason I did that was because I had gone through my CrossFit level 1 certification, and they touched on this then. My boss over at Precision had gone through something similar to this. And as I continue to coach more and more people as a nutrition coach, and learn more about this kind of stuff, I just got super interested in finding more out about how our bodies can develop intolerances or allergies as we, kind of get older and go through life. On top of the fact that there's an incredible way that our bodies are able to kind of fight things that they're not, intended to process. There's so many stories out there that I had never known that this was a thing until very recently, that, people go through life living on a typical, Western diet, American diet of really high carb, really high fat, really high sodium foods, gluten and dairy, and just about anything you can think of. And these people just go through their lives eating these foods, thinking that, it's normal for them to just feel kind of crappy all the time. They blame it on, I don't exercise, my job, this, that, whatever, I'm old, all these things. And whether they've had it since birth and their bodies found a way to kind of fight off these things that are continuously being pumped through it, or they develop it later on in life, they at some point find out that they have, this allergy or this intolerance that, they shouldn't have been eating these foods all the time. And then once they finally get rid of them in their diet, they remove them, they realize that they've been living at this baseline that's just so crappy. And like this baseline that's down here, like their good days just are right here, when their good days could be all the way up here if they just make those few simple lifestyle changes. And so that was one reason that I kind of wanted to do that, is to see if there's a way that I could kind of figure out what was going on with my body. Being a nutrition coach, I know I'm also going to potentially recommend things like this to people in the long run. And when you're used to eating gluten and dairy all the time, removing them from your diet is a big undertaking, mentally, physically. Like, it takes a lot of planning. For me, it was really a big struggle, and planning is something that I do, all day, every day. And for me, it was even hard. So I can't even imagine for just a normal person how big of a challenge this would feel like. And I wanted to know what that struggle was going to be like from beginning to end. Because you know, you hear and you read all the same things and this is what to expect, but until you're actually feeling it, don't you dare get on that couch. Until you're actually feeling it, you don't know for sure what it's going to be like. So I decided to go gluten and dairy free for 4 weeks completely. No forms of dairy or gluten of any kind. And I will say week 1 and 2 were pretty good. Day 1 was the worst day I've ever experienced in my life. Not because I was craving anything, because the detox period hit me so fast and so like violently that my stomach has never been so bloated and so cramped in my entire life. And I was not expecting it to be that quick of a reaction. There is a detox period where typically your symptoms will get worse for a couple days. And as your body is trying to rid itself of all those things that are still in there. But that was rough. And it hit me like night 1 of the first day not having eaten gluten or dairy. And I woke up on day 2 like looking 6 months pregnant. So that was a struggle. It took probably 3-4 days for the bloating to calm down. And I noticed, you know, as I moved through it, that every morning I was waking up feeling less and less bloated, less and less, you know, like heavy, not quite as sluggish. I wasn't intentionally working on my sleep for a lot of this time period. And I did start doing that after I kind of began reintroducing foods. So it's kind of hard to say that that had an effect either way, but once I do, now that I've kind of figured out exactly where I'm going to be kind of sitting, I'm very excited to see what that diet combined with really intentional sleep looks and feels like. But in any case, I went 4 weeks completely gluten and dairy free. End of week 4, weight wise, I didn't change much. I was in a slight deficit, but that was not my main goal. I was not tracking macros. I had written rough meal plans for myself just to make sure that I was prepared with enough food and snacks that were gonna keep me sustained, knowing that a lot of the kind of grab and go random things that I would normally choose weren't gonna be available to me. And so right around week 3 was when I really started struggling. I am a cheeseaholic. I love ice cream. Like, I freaking love dairy. Gluten was okay. There's enough gluten-free alternatives, in my opinion, out there, both at restaurants and in the grocery stores, that I was able to still have a lot of the things that I really like without, you know, compromising that. Dairy was where I really struggled, especially eating out, just because things like butter and milk can be hiding in a lot of restaurant foods that you don't necessarily know about. So ordering was really stressful, and right around week 3 was when mentally I was struggling really badly with crankiness. I was so cranky, and they say that that's part of the detox period as well. You start to kind of have some mood swings as your body's like finishing up working out most of those things. I was so cranky, and I had the most intense cravings. Like, all I wanted was to sit on the couch with a block of cheese and just eat cheese. Like, that's all I wanted for a whole week. And the fact that I knew I was so close to finishing, and couldn't have it, was like really frustrating. Because if you at any point in that 4 weeks have something, whether it's by accident or on purpose, you have to completely start over because you've erased all the progress you've made at that point. So that was a struggle, but week 3 I got through. Week 4 I knew it was almost over. And I think one of the hardest things upon finishing was not just like diving headfirst into a vat of ice cream and pasta, and, you know, controlling how I reintroduce those foods, because that's just as important, if not more important, than getting rid of them altogether. So when you finish your elimination period, The idea is that because I took away two things, I don't want to reintroduce them at the same time, because if I have a reaction, I won't know which one caused it. So I started with dairy because this whole time I assumed and prayed and hoped that dairy was not going to be the issue. I really thought it would be gluten. I thought that because of how my body reacts when I drink beer, and a few other things, that was definitely going to be the cause, and I was okay with it. I was prepared for that. Dairy, I did not think was going to cause any issues. But day one of reintroducing, I had a whey protein shake. Whey is a form of dairy. It's very low in lactose. So a lot of people who are lactose intolerant can tolerate things like whey protein products, and butter and stuff like that. That's really low in lactose. So I had a whey protein shake on day one. It did not bother my stomach. I was okay with it, and that gave me some good hope. Day two, I had a whey protein shake again, and then later that night I had a chicken dish. It was chicken and vegetables, and then there was some basil pesto on the chicken and vegetables. And most of you probably know pesto typically has Parmesan cheese in it, so this one did. But obviously, you know, not a huge amount. I wasn't eating a whole piece of cheese or a block of cheese. No cream, no milk, nothing like that. But I ate that pesto, and within an hour, and I think I have a picture I can pop up right here. Within an hour, I was cramping like crazy. I was so bloated. My stomach was so full and uncomfortable. And I felt like I did that first day when I was detoxing. So that signaled to me that lactose is not going to be in the cards for me, unfortunately, and it's very sad. But there's enough alternatives out there right now. I'm trying to work through the fact that thankfully it's not an allergy, and it's something that I can eat if I really, really want to. If it's a, you know, a very once in a lifetime, or like something I never get to eat very often, I can, you know, make that choice, and I know what to expect. There's also lactate pills and things like that that will help. So for now, my goal, because I did notice, although you know, whey protein didn't make my stomach hurt, it is bloating me the more I've tried to continue to use those products after the fact, that dairy, for the most part, I will be staying away from. So that's going to be a really big adjustment, and I'm probably going to continue talking about it as I try to make those changes. But that was my results from about week 1 to 2 was when I was kind of trying different things out, and trying to figure out if I had a tolerance level, if there were certain things that I could have and couldn't. But for now, I think my decision is just to kind of try and avoid it altogether. If something does come up, then obviously lactate pills I can use, and those should help for the most part. But I'll know what to expect, and hopefully if I choose to have something, it will be worth it. But once I had figured that out, the idea then is that I completely remove dairy again, and I switch and do the exact same thing but with gluten instead. And so the first thing I tried with gluten, I think, what was it? The first thing I tried with gluten, I think, were some crackers. So nothing super crazy, pretty plain, typically shouldn't cause a reaction. And I did notice my stomach didn't hurt when I had those. However, I was fairly bloated, similarly to when I had the, you know, the other stuff. So that's also going to be an adjustment, having both of them out of my diet. Obviously, if my stomach doesn't hurt, I'm more likely to have the gluten than I am to have the dairy. But just in general, I've noticed over the last couple weeks as I've tried to reintroduce things, again, I'm starting to feel pretty fatigued, pretty sluggish, pretty just kind of puffy and not the greatest. So I don't want to walk around living my life not feeling as good as I know that I can, especially when my whole purpose and my whole job is to inspire people to try to feel their greatest and want to feel their greatest. You know, I want to be a really positive example of that. So that's my kind of my where I'm at with all my nutrition right now. So didn't end exactly as I expected it to, but I think it was a really cool experiment. But for now, your girl is gluten and dairy free. It's going to be an adjustment. It's going to be an adjustment for Sean as well. Obviously it affects our lives in general, even though we don't live together. You know, when we go out to eat or when, you know, we want to do things with friends, it does have a little bit of an effect. I have to be a lot more prepared with my foods and the things that I'm bringing when I go places. And obviously he wants to be sensitive of my preferences and what I'm able to eat as well. So he's been super supportive, and that's really awesome. So is my family. One of the biggest challenges is that I do live at home, and obviously the rest of my family is not gluten or dairy free. So there's a lot of food around all the time that is not necessarily friendly to me. And so that's going to be really testing of myself, my willpower, and make me a lot stronger mentally and physically as well. So for now, I've decided I am not tracking macros. I am going to focus on eating enough protein and just kind of fueling my body the best I can. Tons of fruit and veggie, and you know, just making sure that I feel satisfied every day but not over full. So that's where we're at right now. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a mental break from trying to lose weight, just focus on feeling good, getting my diet kind of regulated, getting my body back regulated after trying to reintroduce these foods over the last couple weeks. Work everything kind of back out of my system, and just start from there. I'm really excited to see how my improved sleep and focusing and being really intentional about that kind of pairs with these changes as well. And there's a lot of really good stuff coming on the horizon. So I'm really excited to see what happens as we move into spring. And then probably in about a month or so, month and a half, I'm gonna hit it really hard with the deficit one more time, see if I can get ready for summer, and then we'll be on our way. I slowly over the last year or so worked my maintenance weight down. Probably about 6 months ago, I was plateaued right around 160. I'm stuck back again at 150, so that's really awesome. And I think with some hard work, I can get that down just a little bit more, so that I'm feeling really solid. I feel really strong, and I'm ready to keep getting after it. So the biggest thing I want you guys to remember is that you are a lot stronger than you realize. This is not something that I ever in a million years thought I'd be able to do. I was like, I like those things too much. There's no way I'll last 4 weeks. There's no way I'll make it that whole time without ever touching those things. And because I was able to plan, because I was determined to figure out what was going on, and because I had people around me that were really great resources and sources of support, I was able to do it. And I figured things out about myself and my body that I never would have figured out otherwise. I just would have continued to walk around not feeling good. And so if there's anything that you are wanting to do that you've been thinking about doing for a while, and you just have been unsure or scared or, you know, not ready to do, just freaking go for it. You are so much stronger than you think you are, and you might find things out about yourself that you never would have otherwise. You can do it. If you guys have any questions about anything nutrition related, fitness related, any more questions about this whole experience that you would like to have answered, please leave a comment down below. I will do my best to answer any of them. You can also DM me over on Instagram. I am a little more responsive on there, and I would be happy to help you out. I'm going to keep trying to stick to my schedule. Right now it looks like it'll probably be more like every other week, but I will be here for you guys as much as possible. And as always, thank you so much for watching, if you liked this video or found it useful, please give it a thumbs up. It really, really helps. I haven't checked, but I might be finally at 100 subscribers, which is a tiny number, but it's super cool. One of my first videos just hit 1,000 views, which is also really cool. I never expected that that would even happen. I know it's a small number in the grand scheme of things, but I think it's really, really cool that people actually want to hear what I have to say. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you for continuing to support, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.